go. And then I will check on my phone to make sure the audio is good. Sometimes it sounds like a chip.
Yeah, let's do that before we start. Yeah. Okay, is this everybody? Is everybody? Anybody else?
Not a drill.
Anybody?
Oh shit, this was open, it seems.
Let's see.
No. Was it?
Oh no, you're good. So let's get cracking. Actually, I'm gonna leave my box closed for now. Don't throw everything away because we can actually use this kind of plastic part as our paint palette.
Yeah.
That way we can, yeah. Cute little paint pot and everything. Audio's good? Okay, cool. So we starting. Mark Schmidt says, yeah, we. Sweet. Okay. Hi, Mark Schmidt. There's my hand. Right there. Hi. What's up, everybody? We are teaching a painting class today. We're going to learn how to paint this Manticore from D&D. And featuring paints by Vallejo. So I'll open this up. So before we really get into painting, oh my gosh, this thing is...
I know!
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to open up. Okay, so before we get into painting, I do want to kind of go over just all the tools that we use to paint. Oh, we can use this. Okay, it's got little holes there. Okay, sweet. So we'll set this to the side. Let's try and get this Manticore out of here without destroying it completely.
This thing is really in there.
Yeah, they want to make sure that the Manticore doesn't escape. It's a very volatile monster. The bane of any level 3 party in D&D, I would say. So, bear with us, stream. We're kind of opening up our presents. Okay. So, you notice like this is a pretty big miniature, and it can be kind of daunting to paint something this big at first, but actually, if you think about it, a larger miniature is actually a lot easier to paint because you have bigger detail, more space, more room for error. So I would say that in general, larger miniatures are actually a lot easier to deal with. I'm going to take off my mask really quick. All right, there we go. Awesome. Nothing a little bite from the chompers can't fix. All right, and just gingerly pull that out of there. Don't forget your base, that's important. Or not, it's up to you. So, yeah, we have this awesome little Manticore miniature. I'm going to kind of go about it the way that the kind of wizard site paints it. So, I mean, it already comes with all the paint that you need to paint it. So let's see if we can't make an awesome miniature here. But first, let's go over some cool stuff. So we have our brushes. Looks like we have a fine detail brush and a little regular detail brush. Because this is a pretty big miniature, usually you want to use something a little bigger to do like your base coats, just because it saves on time. Other than that, it's not that big of a deal. What kind of brush you use, as long as it has a nice tip. The tip is the most important thing about the brush. If your tip frays, yeah, Justin, I see you over there. Yeah, if the tip frays, I'll hold this down here. Wait, let's see. Tip. There's the tip of a brush right there. You want your tip to be super pointy like a pencil. If your tip frays, it makes it way harder to get detail in. So with that, you have 3 main parts of a brush. So you have your handle, your ferrule, which is this little metal part, and you have your brush. The big thing that you never want to do is get paint in the ferrule. It is the worst thing any painter could possibly do, because that's what makes your brush go boo, and it just destroys your brush. So when you paint, make sure that you only kind of cover maybe like 1/3 to 1/2 of the actual brush with paint, just to make sure that paint doesn't get into the ferrule. It's way more important than I am stressing, because it'll ruin a brush straight up, and you don't want, you know, expensive brushes that you buy just for miniature painting to just, it's happened to me and it's happened to everybody. So yeah, so we got a couple brushes here. We have a fine detail brush and a multi-purpose. So honestly, we could probably do this whole miniature with this multi-purpose brush. The fine detail's not that super important, and honestly, it doesn't have that great of a point on it, I think. But that might just be my kit. So let's make sure to fill up our water pots. Does anybody have? Did you already go fill up your water? I didn't even see you leave. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go fill up my water pot.
Necesito meterlo así. En los aguanté que no se fueran a abrir y se... Oh my God.
Stretch your finger. Stretch your finger.
What's up? It's got the Rona now. Okay. All right. So let's see if these are in any kind of order.
Pay 2, have 1 floating soldier, pay 3.
Okay. So
Have 1 floating, pay 2.
the first thing we want to do with this miniature is lay down our base coat. The cool thing about the Nolzur's miniatures for D&D is that they come pre-primed. So what a prime is basically it's a base coat of paint that's specifically there to make the rest of the paint stick.
All right. Well,
One thing you need to know about miniature paint, all miniature paint that's specifically made for it is opaque, meaning that it's semi-transparent. So whatever your base coat or whatever your prime is going to show through, unless you really glob it on. And if you glob it on, you're going to lose a lot of detail. But you can actually use that to your advantage by doing things called washes and glazes and stuff like that. But we'll get into that a little later.
Stay there.
So what we're going to start off with, we're going to get into it. So let's see. We want to use this heavy ochre. So our heavy ochre we're going to use for the main body of the Manticore. So we're going to use that on just his kind of torso area, all his arms and stuff like that. We just kind of want to pick out all the fur areas. So like right underneath the wing right there, there's some fur coming out. So we just want to cover up all those areas. Don't be too worried about accuracy. We'll get to the accuracy later. A base coat can be super sloppy, and you can really fix it later. So we're going to start with heavy ochre.
And that's for the body?
And that's for the body, yes. So it's kind of like a tone that you would for like a lion's body, which is exactly what this Manticore is. It's like this kind of lion, part dragon, part man, part pig, you know, all kinds of stuff. So just make sure to don't put way too much paint on your brush, and you can use this little plastic insert that comes with it. It has like little spots that you can use as a palette. And what you really want to do with that is mostly just get excess paint off of your brush. You don't want to glob it on, like I said. And you can even, if you want, thin your paint down just a little bit with some of your water, and that's just going to help it preserve some of the detail there. And then we're going to start off with that.
Oh, dude, cycle is good.
Start in the butt.
Yeah, start in the butt area. Start wherever you want. Really, like the base coat, it's really hard to mess up. It's I mean, you say that, but I have messed up a base coat before. But the cool thing about Vallejo paints is, as far as miniature paints go, I prefer them to most miniature paints, and they definitely don't require a lot of extra work. So you don't have to thin them a whole lot, if any. And yeah, they don't require a lot of mixing. They're just like really, really good quality paints. So I definitely recommend if you're looking for paint that isn't like Games Workshop paint, which we all know that Games Workshop paint, it can get super expensive. Vallejo makes really amazing paint. So we're just gonna
Games Workshop has that one that does like the shadowing by itself now. Which one? Ryan told me about them. I wanted to try them out.
I'm trying to find. Well, now I got shit cycles, which is great. Oh, I'm sorry, kids watching the stream. This is an adult store.
I don't know if there's any kids watching the stream. I don't know who is all watching the stream actually. I'm taking a peek every now and again, but also I want to make it so we get this model done in a reasonable amount of time. So it's kind of a daunting task, but I'm sure we'll be able to get it done. It might take an hour and a half maybe, but I mean that's the kind of time that you need to set aside to really get super good quality miniatures. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with just splashing a couple of colors onto a miniature and calling it a day. I mean, it really depends on how much you want to put into it, and you know how important it is to you. You know whether you want form or function for your miniatures. And be prepared to get paint on your hands. That's another thing. You're always going to get paint on your hands.
Seven's at 29. I'm pretty sure this should kill him.
And we're also going to avoid just a little bit the palms of the Manticore's front hands. So those palms we're actually going to do in a skin tone that's gonna match his kind of face, and that's just going to give us an idea that give us some kind of depth of color. So that it shows like, oh, on the palms aren't too hairy, if you know what I mean. So
there it goes. 29.
Slide out your blocker.
Just the front ones, right?
just the front. We can do the back ones too if you want, but it's such a tiny detail that you don't really have to. I mean, it really depends on what kind of painter you are. So if you're a real stickler for detail, then go for it. Put as much detail as you want into it. But you know, just know like you just want you don't want to don't paint to impress anybody. Paint to impress yourself. That's what I like to say. And I really wish.
Impress you.
Yeah, I really wish they would have given us just a little bigger of a brush, just so we could get this step done a little quicker. But I mean, it's fine. We can use this all-purpose brush, and there is a. I mean, the way that I keep the shape of my brush too, because you'll see like as you're doing it, like as paint's getting in between the fibers of the hair and stuff like that, that you're going to lose a little bit of shape there. What I do, which is kind of gross, is I rinse my brush off and then I stick it in my mouth and lick it, and then that's what I get to get it to. Yeah, that's how you kind of get the shape back. You can also just twirl it in your fingers too, but I find that just doing that's a little quicker for me. But again, like if you don't want to stick a paintbrush in your mouth, I mean that's fine. I'm not going to make you. Stick the paintbrush in your mouth. That's how a real artist does it. Do it. Do it.
You're not a real artist.
You won't be a real artist until you've tasted your art. That's what they told me at art school. And again, like don't worry about being any kind of messy or stuff like that. This is a base coat, so we're gonna fix any kind of mistakes that we make with here. We're just trying to get a solid idea of what our base colors are going to be, and then we're gonna work on them one at a time. There might be a couple of harder spots to hit too.
Like this underbelly?
Yeah, like the underbelly and stuff like that. Just keep at it. You know, don't rush. That's the big thing with painting. Is if you rush, you're going to make way more mistakes. And you want to make sure you don't have any big globs of paint. That's another big thing, because that's going to mask the detail. That's why I say, like, sometimes if you notice your paint is kind of going on a little thick, you can just dip your brush in a little bit of water and mix it in your pot, and it'll make your paint a little bit thinner. A lot of people are like really adamant that you have to thin whatever paint you use. It's not necessarily true. It really depends on what kind of paint you're using, what step you're in the painting process. Because like In a base coat, I mean, yeah, you want it pretty thin, but not pretty thin, but in this model particularly, we can kind of go on a little heavy here.
I don't have a college degree. You have to have a college degree.
Did you watch Indiana Jones recently?
I know it's more than that.
Indiana Jones and the painting of the Manticore.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get deployed.
Yeah, so we're getting there, guys. This is kind of a really boring step. Is when you're just kind of focusing on
Is that
one
how you want to paint it?
Oh yeah, I'm kind of
I'll move it up for you.
Sorry, yeah, I've been off camera this whole time. Well, a good technique when you're painting to make your hands really stable is you wanna kind of cup your wrists together like that. It's gonna make your hands a lot more stable. So you just kind of put your, it's bad manners, but put your elbows on the table. Just lock your wrists together, and that's what you're gonna do. Everybody's saying hello. They can't see you, Roy, so that's a really good thing. Keep it family friendly. That's what we gotta do. This is Facebook, guys. Facebook is a family site.
What are you talking about, dude? I saw memes on Facebook that are very offensive.
There are very offensive memes on Facebook. You are right. But this isn't that part of Facebook. We're on the painting a Manticore part of Facebook, which is not the most inappropriate place on Facebook. I don't know. I guess it's up to the chat. How's the chat going? Let's see.
Can we get pogs in chat?
Just
Pogs
yeah, okay. So
In the chat?
yeah, Steve on the chat says he's a brush licker and he's proud of it. Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I'm one of those dirty brush lickers.
Alright, let's restart. Let's see if I go first again.
Yeah. This is actually a pretty good model to kind of start painting with too, I think. It's not the most complicated model. It doesn't have a whole lot of terribly hard spots to hit. You'll find like with some models, especially like Games Workshop models, they have some really tight angles in them to the point where you some of them you have to paint before you assemble them. The D&D minis they come pre-assembled and pre-primed and stuff, so it kind of takes a step out for you. As far as primer, I've seen people use like Valspar and stuff like that, or you can buy the stuff. Vallejo sells primer, GW sells primer, Army Painter, all that good stuff. Whatever tickles your fancy, however much money you want to spend, what kind of shades you like. I personally, I use Games Workshop paint, but that's just because I have a very big collection of Games Workshop paint. I just kept buying it. But as far as like a primer, it doesn't make a huge difference. Most of the time, you're either going to be priming a model either white or black, depending on how you want the kind of tone of the model to be. So a white prime will give you a lot brighter colors because that prime is going to show through. And a black prime is going to give you a lot more dull colors. So if you want something that's very kind of dreary looking, like maybe you're imagining your Space Marine is fighting in the rain, that's when you would want to use like a black primer, or you use a white primer whenever you're working with particularly light colors. Like this ochre, I probably wouldn't use with a black primer just because that black would really show through and it would come out a little ugly.
Yeah, sorry, I was texting someone.
No, you're good.
And that would just require you to just put more paint on, which is going to mask more detail. The more paint you put on, the more detail you're masking.
No dice.
Rolling dice.
We caught on, so he's
We're getting kind of close there. I got a couple more body parts here. How are you guys doing?
Is it just the body?
Yeah, just that main body part and maybe some of the hair that's going up on the wings. Maybe a couple, maybe like on the arms of the wings too. However far you want to go, it's your model, you paid for it, it's however you want it to look in the end. This is just kind of this base color that we're going for the main body here. I just heard somebody played a Perforos. That's bad.
Make it rain.
Making it rain with a fire god. Alright. So we're just getting in his little like armpit wing part here. And again, I can't stress enough, you know, don't sweat the small detail right now, because this is the part where you don't really have to care about small detail. You can just kind of put on a nice little base coat.
Oh, okay.
Let it
Yeah, touch line, sorry.
let it stick onto other parts if you hit them. It's not that big of a deal. Every now and then, make sure to kind of clean your brush off all the way, just so that no paint dries onto it. That'll also kind of mess with how much of a tip you're gonna get. So like right there, you got a nice little tip. I didn't even have to put it in my mouth. So.
Plateau.
So you can drink your drink.
That's why you eat food through it too, duh.
How's that game going, guys?
Good.
Good.
Going
Okay,
good.
that's good.
I'm gonna play Dranith Magistrate.
He's gonna play a Dranith Magistrate. Sorry, I'm a Magic player too, so I'm gonna sit here and listen to this Commander game while I'm painting. One thing I also you want to make sure when you're painting is that you have a good light source. Here at DGC, we got nice fluorescent lights, so you can really see everything well. But maybe in your house you have like some more muted lights and stuff like that will make it a little harder for you to see. So you definitely want to get like a desk lamp or something to help you. I mean, you can get anything on Amazon. They have desk lamps that have magnifiers on them for this and stuff like that, and they can charge your phone and all the cool stuff. So.
Which part was it that we were?
Just like the palms of their hands. Yeah. Again, and if you get it on the palms of their hands, so be it. It's not that big of a deal. Really, when you're close to the end, that's when you want to really worry about. You want to worry about accuracy.
Yes.
But we're not.
That one, yes.
You know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And you can actually see if you try thinning the paint down just a little bit, that turns it into what's called a glaze, which a glaze is just it's a little more opaque than the regular paint, so you can actually see the prime through it. So like right here on the top of the hand right there, I did more of a glaze, and you can see it comes out a little bit lighter. It's hard to kind of focus it on the camera there, but trust me, it's there. I'm not lying to you.
Take my word for it.
Yeah, take my word for it. Licking the brush is the only way to do it. And Anderson's here.
Did you just get off work?
One of our wonderful regulars coming in.
Fuck your force. Listen.
All right.
Fuck your language How about
Yeah.
then I will
Yeah, you definitely want to watch our language on the stream.
He said duck.
Duck goose.
Roll, dude. Get some goats, dog.
We're getting there, guys. And like I got a little spot on the beard there. I call it. It's not a mane. It's a beard. And it's not a big deal. Especially if you're putting a darker color over it. It's not gonna make a huge difference. Darker colors, of course, are going to cover lighter colors better. It's when you're putting a light color on top of a dark color, that's when you're really you really want to pay attention to detail there. So, and don't go like too far up on the wings here. I'm going to say like go just up to where you stop seeing that little hair kind of detail. Because the wings we're gonna kind of blend it into a different color. So.
You know the cool thing? I'm just gonna sack this to go get my really cool woman.
There we go.
I could have had 6 goats instead of.
All right, and we can maybe like get a little bit on the tail there too, just to preemptively.
I do not like it to no goats.
Figure out that blend here.
There's a land rock, a mana rock that lets you roll the plane.
All right, I think that's pretty good for a base coat. I think we're done with the base coat on my model at least. You guys can continue if you like, but I'm gonna move on to our next step here. So clean off our brush because we're gonna use a new color. So after that, let's go into this heavy sienna. So the heavy sienna is what we're going to use for our for our hairy kind of parts. So
Yeah,
we want to use that on his mane primarily.
And then beginning of your upkeep, you can do it. If you do a chaos,
and-
you turn permanent card from the
Yeah,
graveyard to
just
top.
pretty much his
Go,
mane.
go, Bert. See, you want to stay here, boy. Stop rolling the
Don't
damn
roll, don't roll.
Stop rolling the dice.
Yeah, just his mane. Yeah, we're just gonna do the mane there. Sorry, I had to make a quick decision there on what we want
Stop
to do.
rolling dice. Stop rolling dice.
All right, so let's pop open that heavy sienna.
No, you
No,
don't.
you don't have to.
I thought it was a flyer.
This is the last plane we'll ever be on.
And this Vallejo is coming out a little thick, so we probably want to thin that down just a bit. Don't worry that there's a different color paint in your water. It's diluted enough to where it doesn't really make that big of a difference.
I think it just says fill
And
in.
yeah, once you're done with the body there, we can take this heavy sienna and
You can't cast spells.
coloring in his mane.
Otherwise, put.
Can't cast spells.
Again, you don't have to be super accurate with it. You don't have to be like crazy, OCD about getting in there. You can if you want. You're your own person.
I'm totally gonna OCD.
Oh yeah. Please do, because I mean that's how you get some people do better than you. With this model, I'm gonna kind of have a little fun with it. Just I'm not sweating it too much, but that is sometimes that's how painters work best, is trying to get as close to perfect as they possibly can. There's no such thing as a perfect model either. I mean, you'll see stuff on like certain Facebook groups and stuff, and you're like, oh my gosh, I could never do that in my life. And trust me, you can. It's mostly just tricks. There's a lot of tricks to this hobby.
Now cast your command.
Heavy skin?
Heavy sienna, yeah, it's kind of dark burgundy brown.
I'm gonna say mana balls.
And it's for the hairs.
And it's for just kind of his beard area. And this guy is really mad. This is an angry beaver. Alright. And while we're at it with this heavy sienna, when we're doing this mane, try your best. You kind of want to use like the side of your brush. Try and like color in his eyebrows there. That's a good little test on accuracy. So, a really good way to get like nice smooth lines on edges and stuff like that is to move the side of your brush. So there you go. You got some nice like Alec Baldwin looking eyebrows right there. So he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna act in 30 Rock.
My neighbor has a.
Just
has a
keep
dog
going
from
at
my
it.
parents' neighbor.
It's another thing is
No.
you'll find that sometimes painting something can get a little tedious. Don't be afraid to take little breaks and stuff like that. Go
Parents.
eat something, go to the bathroom, or just power through it. Whatever you want to do. I take a lot of breaks when I paint, and that kind of decompresses me.
Never adjusted.
Because I don't want to burn myself out either. That's a big thing is, that you'll find like really hardcore hobbyists. They kind of feel the burnout whenever you're just painting for like weeks and weeks at a time.
Impact tremors?
Impact tremors sounds like a combo's about to happen.
Gardner? Everyone takes one? I'm gonna take.
And you'll notice on this mane, there's a lot of pointy little detail, and there's some little nooks and crannies that are a little harder to get into. You'll find if you thin your paint just a little more there with your water pot, that it'll kind of seep into those little cracks a little better.
Why is your stuff upside down, bro?
Definitely something that if you're really serious about the hobby that you want to get knowledgeable about is when and how to thin your paints. I'm still kind of working on that myself. Just because I'm teaching a class doesn't mean that I'm necessarily the best painter ever. I just offered to do it, honestly. No, it's fun, and I like kind of sharing what I know with people, and sometimes I learn things in these classes too.
I'm gonna pay one the top knot.
And you'll notice when you're doing this main that there are those little spikes sticking out. You don't necessarily have to paint those brown because we're actually going to go over again. We're going to pick those out with a different color. So the less brown you can get on that, the better, because we're going to go over it with kind of a bone color. But again, don't worry about it super hard. I mean, everything's fixable when you're painting. And I mean everything, because I mean, if you hate everything about a miniature that you paint, you can just dip it in isopropyl alcohol and strip all the paint off. All you need is a toothbrush and some isopropyl alcohol. That's another thing. If you get like used miniatures, that's going to help you out in the long run. A lot of people are like, oh, go get simple green, go get this, go get that. I'm telling you, isopropyl alcohol is the best paint stripper you can get for these acrylic paints. You dip them in there for like 30 minutes and you're done.
Sure.
Cool, I'll take you with my 0 and do it. Cool.
We shook hands and we called it a day.
So are we still on the planes that you put a permanent in?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I needed land tags, because I don't have any plates.
Yeah, during your upkeep. Did you not do that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, come on, man.
Oh, well, I missed it.
You get a cascade.
There we go.
It's not Cascade.
Rationing.
I'm gonna tough.
Have you tried the eyebrows yet?
No.
Not yet. It can be a little daunting. Like I said, just kind of use the edge of your brush to go over that raised area. And
Just the tip.
just the tip, guys. Not the tip, the edge. Very different. If you use the tip, you're gonna, especially if you're like me and you have kind of shaky hands, it might be a little hard to pick out
Actually, let me do my free roll.
the perfect little area to
Still here.
pop the tip of your brush in. So that's why I like to use the edge of my brush, because you just kind of go along the raised area and you don't have to worry about it like pushing down into little crevices like that.
Alright, which one was it? Okay.
This one.
Yeah, Sandra brought up a really good thing in the chat too.
text
They
land
a lot of places sell like these little handles. For this particular model, since it's not already glued on the base, I mean,
He's got a force.
you can glue it on the base first, and then because the handles, they have like these little springy things on them, and they
Actually,
make it a little more ergonomic to hold your models. I own one for my Games Workshop models. I use it like half the time, but they are very comfortable. Yeah. I like them more for like for smaller models.
That's my dog.
And if you're starting on a new color and you're worried about the color you did before, just clean your brush off. Go back in that color for a second if you want. It's fine. This is the easiest part of painting, and it's also a part that a lot of people stop at. I mean, a lot of people are very content with just kind of laying down a base coat and you're done. But we're going a little more into it just because we like our models to look very pretty, and so we're gonna teach you a couple things about teach you a couple things about painting that you might not know. You might know. Depends on how seasoned you are. If you're just getting into the hobby, I feel like you definitely won't know. It's going to make your painting a lot easier and make your models come out looking a lot better. We just got to kind of finish up on this base coat, which is the longest part. So, but I mean, you can see like once we got that main body done, that's a good 1/3 of the model that we've covered. And it's only been what? Not super long.
I'd imagine I could.
No, I'm talking like
I'll have one.
I'd imagine probably not, because they usually end up back.
You get to upkeep the top.
How you guys holding up? All right, that's good.
So then you draw.
Like I said, if you need a break, don't be afraid to take one. Everybody's hand cramps up sometimes.
Make a cast.
Foot.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
Are you gonna get food?
I'm getting close to the end of this main here.
Oh, take your slot.
They say here, tell lies.
And any D&D people out there in chat, if there's some D&D people in chat, feel free to share your stories about when you come into contact with Manticores, because they can be pretty scary for some lower level parties. I've been in a few level 3 parties where we haven't had the best time with Manticores. Once you get around like level 5 or something, they're a little more reasonable. But a single Manticore against a level 3 party, that's like final boss territory.
Well, there he is. Oh, see?
You're going to notice on kind of the, I guess if the Manticore is facing you on the right side of his mane, it's going to be a nice little divot that's kind of hard to get into. Just don't worry too much about it, because we're gonna do something a little later that's gonna help with all those little divots. Something a lot of painters would call liquid talent. So it's definitely going to surprise you, I think, with the quality of how the model looks. Like right now, you might be looking at it and thinking like, oh, it's just some base colors and it's blah 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 blah. It's not that great. But trust me, once we get into using this sepia wash, it's really gonna make stuff pop. It's gonna look like you spent 2 days painting this model.
$1 more. See you later, gents.
See you.
Great spin game. See you later, man. See you later. Have a good one, dude.
Where's that at?
Like I said, if there's a little bit of detail that you're having trouble getting to, try thinning your paint down just a little bit and see if it doesn't get into those cracks a little easier.
Top 10.
Sure, babe.
Well,
One, I'm gonna do it again.
bro, let me see that.
We get, we didn't get a
I guess that's your paint sleeve.
Just kind of take into account where those little spiky bits are on the main too, because we are going to go over them again fairly soon, not like immediately after this though. And that means the back part of main's kind of going to go bleh. Oh my goodness, that was like the worst stammer I've ever had in my life. It's going to go down to like sort of the middle of his back there. You'll see like there's a little bump where it smooths out
Top 10 chaos.
right
Yeah, you
after
pick
on
someone
this
from top 10.
regular kind of line for.
we used to do this. Cool, we're off this game.
And I'm actually gonna kind
All
of
creatures have
go
exalted.
over this
Whenever you
little
roll
bit of a
chaos, you
furry
put an
part
advantage
here.
counter on target green,
that we had
white,
under the
or blue
wings with
creatures.
this
That creature
too.
is indestructible as long as it has the
I
advantage
think it's
counter
gonna
on
look better that way. I want there to be, I want this color to transition a little farther in on
I'm
the
gonna play my
model. So.
commander. And then I've already played my lands, I'm gonna cycle.
Alright, Brett. This time I'm playing Progenitors.
Oh shit, goblins. I mean, oh dang. Oh dang. Oh dang goblins. have
Oh dang
exalted.
goblins. Them dingle dangle goblins.
I mean, he has to solo attack with a goblin.
There's a certain miniature
This card is.
that Wizards makes that I really want to paint, and they're called Grum, and they're like these little tropical frog people,
I've got a lot of stuff for
and they're so freaking cute and colorful, and I just want to paint them so bad.
I need
So-
to wait for my loan, I need an hour.
Sometimes they can be they are very poisonous. So like if they touch you, they can do all kinds of weird stuff. You know, they have poisons that can make you understand languages. So
That's pretty cool.
it is pretty cool, right? So I think I'm about done with this main area. Let's get a little bit under this wing here.
Anderson swinging all at you. What?
He's like, snap, take it. How much
I
impact?
think I like this little hairy part to be
Furious
more
protection?
brown than the regular that regular heavy ochre.
They are
That
0
was the
1s
sound of my
and
keys
never got
falling out of my
attacked.
pocket. Don't worry about that. These things happen when you're painting. Things will fall out of your pockets.
Didn't do anything major.
What cards are you looking for?
How's it going,
Four
guys?
total?
How we looking?
No, so there's 4 creatures I'm attacking with, so they'll get.
Getting along there. I'm about at the end of this main here. I'm gonna see if there's a couple little spots that I need to
6.
kind of pop in on. Not a huge deal. Though.
So you need an Ulster?
They have trample?
That down.
No.
Alright, so I'll block off
Only
four
tutor
with
Sterling
four
Grove.
of
Yeah, that's
these.
all in that chip tag that I have.
I'll have 2 left.
It's just gonna seep in these little cracks.
Specifically the one from Masters.
The one thing I think I would change about this model is the little rock patch that he's sitting on. And make it a lot easier to hit those little undersides. Are you hear me, wizards? Are you listening? Why do you give me a base and then base the model?
All of God,
Alright.
Oil, and Constellation.
So look, I think I'm about done with that. So close up. Make sure to close up your paints whenever you're done with them, so they don't dry out. It's really sad when you get some paint and it dries out, and you spend all kinds of money on fancy paints. I'm gonna
There's a real good code.
do a quick little paint lick there. All right.
$10.
So now, after we finish the main, we're going to use this heavy skin tone. So the heavy skin tone we're primarily just going to put on his face and on the palms of his paws. Let's shake that up a little bit. Shake it up.
I also trade one.
All right, we were going 2 different songs there, but that's okay.
It's the remix.
Remix. Oh, okay. And with that flesh tone, let's thin that down a little bit more than we usually would, just so we don't kind of overlap on these
You're attacking me?
the beard parts and stuff like that. You'll see if you thin it down just a bit, it'll be a little bit easier to kind of make that transition. Don't worry about filling in the eyes and stuff like that. We can always fix that later.
I do want double masters.
Just be a little careful on the face part, just to make sure you don't super overlap. This is when you really want that good tip of your brush. You just go along. I kind of like to go along the outline of it first, and then I can worry about the middle part afterwards.
You know, it's a bit too good for what it does, especially in like Yarok decks.
There you go.
Where you just conjure closets that thing.
And it's weird, you kind of look at that skin tone in the pot and you're like, that doesn't look like skin at all. And then you put it on the Manticore and you're like, oh yeah, I can see it now. That's kind of because we have that white prime and it makes it a little more vibrant looking. So you get a like kind of a Caucasian skin tone.
You don't have any artifacts, do you?
I do not.
Feel free to make your Manticore any race you like though.
Well, solid.
I don't think that the evil wizards that make Manticores really care about who they or what color skin the Manticores have. You can make them blue if you want. I think a blue Manticore would be pretty cool, actually. And then you'll find that face will go by pretty quick. After you paint the face, don't worry about filling in his mouth or anything. Just want to go over the palms of his hands
Placeholder?
with that flesh tone. And again, make sure it's a little thinned out, and you'll see that flesh tone blends in that ochre really nice. After that,
Cycle.
we can start going into the rest of the big main parts of the body there. And I also find it a lot nicer to paint with other people, painting alone can get me a little stir crazy. So if you have friends that you enjoy just kind of doing random things with, I definitely recommend trying to paint with them.
Tevin, since you attacked me, second for 8.
Especially like cool little models like this where they give you everything that you need. It's a good way to get you and friends into the hobby, especially if you're D&D aficionados.
I think you were at 34 before.
There's something really nice about playing a game and laying down a miniature and saying, I painted that myself. That's me right there.
It's done. Your turn, bro. Just now you have to pay 1, 2.
Alright. So
Excuse me.
I think I'm good there. Okay, so you'll find that skin tone step really doesn't last long at all, because you're kind of covering a very small area of the miniature. So after we do the heavy skin tone, we're going to move over to tan.
We're good. I may.
I'm just gonna shake up this tan a little bit. Sorry, I went into my meme voice for a second. So this tan we're gonna use to cover the wings and the tail, and that's gonna kind of give it this pink kind of fleshy look, and it's gonna contrast really nice here. I'm just gonna use another little part of this to use as my pot. So.
Oh, did you play a spell this time?
Another really good thing that you can make at home that'll help you with your painting, something called a wet palette. So you notice, like, as you have these paints in your little kind of makeshift palette here, that they tend to dry out. What a wet palette does is it keeps your paints nice and not to use a word everybody hates, but nice and moist.
Oh, I love that word.
Yeah, Roy is a big fan of that word, and
Sometimes the cake is too.
The cake is too. Hey, I'd rather have moist cake than dry cake. But yeah, it keeps your paints it keeps them hydrated. So basically, you can make one yourself at your house. So all you need is like a Tupperware container, some paper towels, and some wax paper. And what you do is you soak that paper towel up with some water, put it in the Tupperware container, and not wax paper, parchment paper. It is a big difference. Put that parchment paper on top, and it's semi-permeable, so some water is going to go through it. It's going to keep your paint nice and hydrated. So you can actually just pop a lid on it and not worry about it. You can just leave it for a couple days and open it up, and your paint will be fresh. You'll just have to mix it up a little bit.
I'll block with one of my soldiers.
This is a keepable hand. Especially in a 5-color deck. By the way, this is proxies.
So we're just going over the entirety of these wings. So every little part, save for maybe the claws on the end there.
Alright, every proxy is Black Lotus.
And also, don't be afraid to use a reference. So look at the picture we put on there. Say, where does this paint go? If you're not super confident in where you want to put your paint, or put different shades on a model, you can always use references. I do it all the time.
Cool.
So instants and sorceries cannot be cast right now.
Whenever you roll chaos, target player loses life equal to the number of cards in his or her hand.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So instants and sorceries can't be cast?
Correct.
Yes.
So
Correct.
you don't have to worry about counter spells.
Yay!
Oh shoot.
For now.
For now. Wait.
Can't respond to that?
Two.
There's no trigger.
Fires. Creatures that control our face. 2.
Well, I'm gonna respond to that.
With.
Cycle. And also, are you paying the 1?
No.
So I'm gonna cycle.
Reveal.
Sorceries can't play.
And you didn't pay the 1.
Draw. Reveal.
So
You'll notice this this tan color actually, it's more of like a pinkish kind of color, so it goes really good on these wings. You want to get that like leathery kind of membrane feeling from them.
This is actually, I like this plane. Instances. Ooh, that's a good one. I'll play Astral Drift.
Another good thing about thinning paint, whenever you use it, is it gives you more paint. So like, whenever you thin paint, you're adding more mass to a mass, so it's gonna make your paint last longer too. It's gonna make it go farther, should I say.
That's how it looks.
Oh wait, I gotta roll.
We got one wing down. Well, one inner wing. Music brought to you by Roy.
He said one winged angel.
For what? For the wings, or for the wings we're doing tan. Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm a little ahead of you guys.
You're fine.
Veteran painter over here. Yeah, no, I just I know the steps already, so. And don't. I actually watched probably half of the video that they have for this Manticore that Wizards actually published, and I was like, yeah, I get it. Kind of went from there. It's fairly easy to understand, like the sequence you go with your colors. You know, you want your darker tones first, and then you want to do your highlights later.
It does 1 damage to every opponent. Fires, it does right. I can sack it to give something haste.
Go ahead and wash my brush off really quick. Getting pretty dangerously close to that feral.
Is James Matrix still alive?
Yeah.
I just found that. This one before it.
You can say
Pick up some more paint there.
Sure. Slide right out too.
Swing?
Your turn, man. Well, after I roll.
And
Swing? Get
I mean, this is probably pretty obvious, but when you go like one color at a time for a model, it gives your other colors a chance to dry. You definitely don't want to paint over paint that's like halfway dry. It's gonna leave some really ugly marks, brush marks on your paint. So I hope you guys enjoy the sound effects brought to you by our local Commander players.
woo! You're there, boys. This is playing.
We're definitely gonna post all these minis. So 3-foot rule.
What? I'm leaving.
There was a Manticore in the movie Onward. One of the guys in the chat, he said the only Manticore he's seen is in the movie Onward, and I liked that movie. I thought it was pretty
really
good.
good.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a Disney movie to me, but it was. I thought it was a very good movie. And yes, the Manticore in Onward was
A
very
bunch of
funny.
lands. A dual land, soul ring, a land test for white, red, white, blue.
You're right. It didn't feel like Disney.
It didn't feel too Disney to me, but it didn't. That didn't make it a bad
There's a
thing.
certain card in his hand that carries a name for that entire
I don't know. There was something about just the structure of it and just everything about it.
I've got Yami in my hand.
Didn't feel super Disney to me, but I did enjoy it.
I've got Grimlock in here.
It had a nice little storyline, a
Bro,
nice
you
little
want to
ending.
chaos with this?
Yep.
I will let you chaos with this, dude. I don't give
And the voice acting was good. I like the voice acting. Chris Pratt, you can put Chris Pratt in anything and it'll be good. That guy's a good actor. He's good at everything.
Yeah.
Right.
But first, are you paying the one?
I'm just getting close to finishing up this first
You
win.
would have drawn before you would have shuffled.
Okay.
What?
So I'm drawing.
Sun type.
Get it.
Get that rope for your power back.
Right?
And again, we're still only on the base coat here, so it can be a little sloppy. And you can always go back over certain parts if it's a really big blotch or something like that. You can just go back over it.
Can't.
What goes there? Bleach.
Counterspell.
We're good on that wing.
Actually, I'm pretty sure he is going to counter.
Like I said, we're going to go over the base parts of the tail, not the spikes so much, but the base parts of the tail with his teeth as well. How's he looking?
With the muffler. What do you mean?
Response. I'll cycle.
Not
Slide out my subtype.
And the card that he cycled shuffles itself back to the deck.
What's going on, guys? You got any questions?
And then are you?
She's criticizing mine. You know what?
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, I'm never there.
Oh wow. She's already a pro painter. She's already a pro painter.
No, not at all.
Propane?
If
Propane.
anything, she is.
Propane?
My name's Thomas and I sell propane and pro paint accessories.
Everyone takes one from Impact
But
Travel.
yeah,
Yes,
I
sir.
think the color is weird.
You're talking about the color for the wings?
Yeah.
It is a little vibrant. It's kind of very pink right now, but once we put our liquid talent on it, it's going to make a huge difference, trust me.
Whenever creature deals combat damage to a player, its controller may
When
draw a
we're
card.
laying down
If you
base
roll
coats,
chaos, you
we're
have no
nowhere
maximum
near a
hand size for the rest of
finished
the game.
product. You got to keep that in mind. So,
Portion of this game ends next turn.
what you put on top of a base coat changes it drastically. And you'll see that with highlights.
Yes.
You'll see that with low tones, stuff like that.
I know where this is going.
A roll for each?
Yeah. It's already. It's already.
I figured it doesn't.
That's already in the graveyard. That's why I'm gonna get smothering tonic.
Okay. I am painting mine. And it's looking horrible.
This comes back.
Oh, it's okay. Trust me. Once, like I said, base coat is gonna look ugly and sloppy, but trust me, it's gonna look a lot better once we get to the later stages here. Don't give up hope on me just yet.
I don't know,
Because
you sound great.
thank you. Because right after we get done with this base coat, we're gonna go into those washes, and you're gonna see it's gonna make a huge difference.
Second my son Titan.
And we're kind of lucky in the point where the painting hobby is at now, because you used to have to make your own washes, and that involved thinning your paint down a lot.
Smothering
Hey,
tonic.
no.
And if you didn't do it quite right, it would just kind of ruin everything.
Force of vigor.
Because you just kind of glob it everywhere.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that bridge. We'll cross that bridge.
Plenty of draw.
I'm gonna windfall.
Yeah, all day.
So how many cards are in people's hands?
One.
I have 5.
He's taking it back
So we're
now.
all gonna draw
I'm
5
not-
cards.
Jesus, you made me paint something that I
And
wasn't
I'm gonna
supposed
make
to.
5, 10, 15 artifacts.
No.
There's no such thing. You can paint anything any color you want. It's
The skin color.
No, I had to take the
Yeah, I'll
yellow.
fix it later.
yeah. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's if you.
But it's your fault.
I'll use, go to 9.
That's another great part about painting with somebody. You can always blame stuff on them too. You made me miss my highlight.
Destroy the yellow breach. Yep.
Alright, there we go. That was better.
I think I fixed it.
Not you.
Cool. We'll do it again.
What's that tough? How are you getting back?
And don't forget to wash your brush off every now and again to make sure no paint
On
dries
stack,
onto
I'm on
it.
big 2. Magma Jet, 2 damage at you.
Okay. You're still not gonna stop him.
No, I'm not.
That's fine. I mean, I'm going to go to 28.
I'm drawing 5 again.
Nope, this time we're drawing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That was just even.
I think I'm going a little thick on this.
So I've got plus 18.
It'll be fine though.
Eventually. So now I will use, so I had how much left? 9. So I'll use 5 of that.
I like this.
You guys having fun?
Yes.
Heck yeah, that's what we like to
I
do.
like the windfall.
It's definitely it's a hobby that takes patience, but it's very rewarding when you get to the end product.
So we're on all 7.
And just seeing the process of it too. I really like
I'm gonna search.
watching a model come
Congregation
along.
is down.
Sure.
It's kind of like those ASMR videos and stuff like that. It's just
I'm gonna draw
something
3,
very
9,
satisfying
4 back.
about
4 more.
Yep. You'll draw
seeing a model from its base, you know, just primed and one color
all
to
that mana that I have.
being something that has depth and detail put into it. And especially it's something you can say, I did that. I'm the person who painted that and I'm proud of it. You should always be proud of everything you paint too. I'm somebody who believes that once you paint something, you should leave it alone. Just put it on your mantle and say, that's mine, and you can use it as kind of a benchmark of where you were, where you have been, you know, where you are, where you wish to be,
Another
stuff
3.
like that.
I will cast.
Because I mean, if you look at the stuff I painted maybe like 5 years ago, it's not too great. I'm not gonna lie, and it's because I didn't know a lot about how paint worked and how to take care of my brushes and stuff like that. I can't overstate enough how important it is to take care of your brushes.
1, 2, 3.
Because at the end of the day, you know, if you have a
I'm on
defective
this.
tool,
Not the last one.
it's
I'm on
not
the
going to
last
work right for
You
you.
realize I can cast every kind of spell.
I'm gonna do it. Here.
I'm gonna destroy the astral drift and the.
Do I draw first?
Yeah, you'll draw.
But
I'm discarding Purity.
What does that do?
When it goes to my grave, I shuffle my grave into my
Oh,
library.
that's fine. It don't matter.
Right, so
I'm gonna win with this card.
he has a lot of
Like no matter what,
Okay.
you'll never deck, but I'm gonna win. with
Pretty
it.
much.
okay.
It's like when I make
So
you
Brett's
finish a
doing
game
3
and
now?
then I'm gonna
Destroying these 2.
crush
Are
you.
you tapped out?
target the smugglers guy in the underworld.
It's something I find a lot whenever I'm playing like a competitive game and my opponent concedes. I get really mad because I'm like, I wanted to keep doing well.
Fine. Anything else?
Did you do the palms of his hands too? Yeah. So you're just gonna go on
So
to
windfall.
Okay.
And now
like I
we'll
said,
just have
that
1, 2,
little
3, 4,
face
5, 6,
part,
7,
it's
8,
not gonna
9,
last super long because you're not covering a whole lot of area with it.
and
So looks like I'm about done with these wings. I'll move on to the
chase trigger.
tail.
If I would draw a card, when I have no cards in the library. I don't know.
I don't get it. I was.
Still
I
gonna
dropped down. It's
I
like.
think it's his.
Alright, let's do 10.
Well, this is gonna be
I'm actually gonna take a second and I'm gonna go rinse out my water pot and refill it with fresh water.
I'm playing Lord of Grace. Tommy, did you bring your trades with you?
There we go.
I did not bring anything.
You gonna be up here tomorrow? Get it.
Flopping. On live stream.
A live pop?
Not sure. Flop. Maybe not. Live stream.
I'm looking for some stuff for my Jun deck, so you can bet you may or may not have.
How many?
If it has anything to do with lands, I probably am not trading it.
It's not lands, it's mostly creatures. Any vengeance in the card,
Yeah, I don't have any of that.
the pernicious deed.
Oh, that card's so good.
Pernicious deed.
I think I actually got
But enough about cards. We're painting.
Well, I think I-
Hooray.
Oh, nice, man.
So we're just working on this tail now, and after that, we can get on to, I believe, what will be our last base coat. So after
Tail was tan too, right?
tail is tan too. Yeah, 3 T's. Tail tan too.
DCG player.
Did you look it up?
And again, don't worry about the spikes on the tail because that's going to be what we're base coating next. It's going to be we're going to be base coating that in bone white. But again, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Now the bone white base coat, I say we cross that bridge and I go on right about it. That base coat that we're going to do, that's when we want to be a little more accurate because we're going to be going into some areas that we've already painted. So definitely don't want to splash over on that. But if you do, it's always fixable. Plus we're going over with a light color, so that's an especially fixable thing.
I know because I've been looking at it recently.
This will be magic or something.
You just want to add 10 to the tab?
And once we get done with the base coat, things are going to start kind of flying by a little bit quicker, I think. Because that's when we're going to get into some different techniques like dry brushing and edge highlighting. Which those are, they're a little more accurate, but they're not just, you know, you're not covering a super large area with it. Well, I mean, base coat or dry brushing, you cover a super large area, but it happens really quick.
Beast Within's always a good card.
I would argue that any card that says destroy a permanent is a good card.
Do you only play Commander?
No, I play modern, standard, pretty much everything. Everything that I can afford, at least. My favorite format of Magic is modern. I like that. I like it a lot. It's a very diverse card pool and a very diverse meta, I would say. There's a lot of different kinds of strategies in that format. But I do enjoy Commander a lot too. And you'll notice when you're doing this tail, it's going to get really messy looking. Just because, I mean, you don't have to paint the spikes, but you're going to get paint on the spikes. So don't worry about it. It's when we do our next little thing that you really want to kind of be more accurate about it. You might even want to use that fine detail brush if you feel like it.
I'm gonna switch up Ryan, can I play Mutate? Mutate? Did you add anything into it recently?
Let's see here. You know, little other parts there.
Or see 50 to 15.
On a what?
Alright, that seems good. I think that's good for the tail there. Okay, so after that tail, we're going to go into our final base coat, which is going to be bone white. Which it says it's white, it's more of a kind of beige color. It's the color of bone. So with bone white, we're going to go over the claws, the spikes, his teeth, and probably pop a couple of bone white dots in his eyes if you can. How's it looking, Ryan?
Good.
That's when I clean my children.
Bone white is also
That's when I get my money
the business
off the
card
shelf.
color of Patrick Bateman from American Psycho.
Yes, that is true. It's a very friendly color, despite its name, I would say.
He gave it to me at first, but then he gave it back.
Uncle Donald. He's like,
You'll notice that when we get into this lighter color,
here's a late
bone white,
birthday
it's going to be a thinner paint. So I'm going to start off with his teeth. You just want to be a little more accurate than usual. Use that, stabilizing kind of technique.
I mean, we'll get it. They're gonna do it.
You just want to pick out those little details. I
I
got a little bit of bone white on his lip, but that's fine. That's fine.
It's gonna be basically you're buying both.
And also, while I'm at it, before I go into this bone white, I'm going to I'm gonna put some of this tan right inside his mouth because we can't have him just have a pure white mouth. That doesn't make any sense. And I like this color for like any kind of like fleshy area, which is exactly what a mouth is, I would think. It's weird to say that a mouth is a fleshy area, but your gums are pink, so unless you smoke a lot, I think. So when you do the tan in the mouth there, thin it out a lot. So make that paint super thin. That way you can get it in there nice and thorough.
Saturday after the next Sunday.
You were like, okay, and I was like, you have no idea it's me.
At that point, I was like, the 12th.
Nate's here.
Nate!
So let's go back in here, and again with this bone white, try and put just a tiny bit on the tip of your brush, and that's going to help you with accuracy a lot. So while that's kind of drying, I'm going to go in on these claws. And we're just going to pick out these claws really accurately as we really can here. And yeah, don't worry if it's not super accurate. I mean, these are the really fine detail parts. And I mean, not even really fine detail parts, but they're just really small parts.
Set off the alarm, and she texted me 4 minutes ago.
But a lot of this stuff is going to be kind of covered with our highlights and our washes and stuff like that. So you don't have to be crazy accurate. Just be careful. Okay. So we got those claws. Let's go over that.
You ready? Yeah.
And we're gonna go in on these spikes on the mane here. So just be really careful picking them out.
Temple of validating.
Okay, she figured it out.
Don't be super worrisome about getting it on the mane, and we can always go back over it.
Oh, okay.
I do need the austere command.
Right there. That's it.
What you doing, Nate?
Huh?
What are you doing?
Thinking about being you section.
Cool.
Oh yeah, we went a full round.
No, it's on the first turn. Oh wait,
Yeah.
So is it my turn?
Yep.
Again, you have no cards in hand, draw 7 cards.
Metamorphic, blade, cover, scout.
So I'm gonna try using this fine detail brush here. Let's see how this guy works.
Search for a limb.
Try to get a nice little tip on it.
Your turn?
I'm gonna go ahead and roll with you.
Land, one game life, and then 1 for bird paradise.
I'm gonna start my trial top.
Yo le capito más oscuro que tengo.
Oh, ain't nobody rolling there.
Yeah, no, we were just kind of
We'll just
trying to
chill.
chill. Yeah.
Just chill, you know what I'm saying?
I don't want to discard my hand for no reason. Alright. Draw for turn. Shock myself for 2. Jace Bowman. I'll use it as +2, everybody draws a card.
Draw the card and just search for it, Mr. Computer.
And then I'll pass Thunderboy.
Signet, Lightning Greave. Just keep Jason. Technically, good.
Jace Bellerin. Keep him in check.
Keep him in check.
Another
man.
thing is
Too
when you're
many
painting
cards.
these spikes,
Baby Jace.
if you can't see the place you're painting,
That's you.
The one where I think you
What?
something
Oh.
built one.
I'm trying to get it out of here.
if you can't see the place you're painting, you probably will never see it. So
Okay,
don't worry about it.
1, 2. Hero play. Pass.
Jace the Mind Sculptor. We're gonna
Pick
minus
out
one
these
Jace. I draw a
teethies.
card. We're gonna zero this Jace.
How do you do this shit?
Brainstorm.
So we wanna give them a nice smile.
Pass. Bellerin and Mind Sculptor on board.
Order Gargoyle.
Nice. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and
What does he
focus
do when he
on-
swings?
Create a 3/3 beast token. I gain 3 life or I draw a card.
Poke his eyes just a little bit there. And then we move on to the spikes on the tail.
I essentially just paid 4 mana for a Brainstorm.
Jason Mind's going takes off, dude. Takes over. There. So 2.
Yeah, you'll notice with these lighter colors that they go on thinner. So just be patient with them. If they don't completely cover what's underneath them, go over them again. It's not a huge deal though. Like you'll notice that with the brown especially, that it's not gonna cover it completely the first time with some of these little
Oh, you
parts.
pulled
So
this out?
you can just wait for it to dry and then put another little coat on there.
Doing something? Roll your player dice.
I ain't rolled that thing yet, bro. Don't you care?
Same here. No one has.
Just remember the raid that I didn't want to do and then I ended up getting the weapon.
Angel.
Now I always use them. They're like, okay, we get it. You got it.
I bet you they hate you for it.
I don't think.
I'm kidding.
No, like I don't think what most of them have gotten it.
It's not. I'm still below.
Okay, so they really hate you
Land for
And you're
turn.
like, I just got here with my encounter.
5 for Parametra.
Who needs my note?
Plus 2 Jace. Everybody draw the card.
Totally worth it though.
Pass.
Yo me estaba el día. I'm like, you didn't even want to do the raid.
Background champ is $10. And that's at 35.
Quiero que el otro estaba mal día, era chulo, rápido. Where that's headed to.
This is getting.
Yeah, the nails look nice and pretty.
Sort of body of mine.
Yeah, you'll notice certain paints, when they're a little closer to white, the closer they are to white, the harder they are going to be to work with, just because white paints are thinner than regular paints. So they require a little bit more love.
You like a lot of things in your very, very card. Attack. Attack the baby Jace for 3. Tech you for 3, Brett. Tech you for 4.
And where
And
do you
they-
For 6,
When
my
we
bad,
get to the
6.
hobby, like, what are
It's a
the
6/6 trample,
the
vigilance,
basic
and
stuff that
greed.
you should start with?
Whenever
What's
it
up?
attacks, I can choose one to
Sorry, one
create
more time?
3/3
Like, if you
beast
wanna get into the
token,
hobby,
I can
like,
gain
what's-
3 life, or I can draw a card.
What are the tools or
Cool.
the
I will choose
must-haves?
to make a
So
3/3.
definitely brushes. And I mean, you can go cheap brushes, expensive brushes. I would probably go
All
cheap
this is
brushes first.
34.
Brushes designate your water pot. Just grab a glass out of your kitchen and say, "This is my water pot, and that's what I'm going to use it for." And paint. Paint is obviously. You just need to kind of choose what kind of brand paint you want to use. So like, it's really a choice between 3. There's Vallejo, Army Painter, and Games Workshop. Like I said, I use Games Workshop, but that's because I've been
the one you kept attacking
using
for no
Games
reason
Workshop
because you thought I was
paint
playing
since I was
Verdansk.
young, and I have a pretty big collection of it. But yeah, you definitely need paint and a bunch of different shades of it. And I would also invest in washes as well. You want to keep those on hand because those are really gonna make your paintings look amazing. Oh, hi Nate.
I realized that myself. I was like, that's probably
I was like,
creepy.
excuse me?
$600.
Yeah, you could have just said
Can I
hello.
refrain from that and say, hey, dude, how you guys doing today?
How's it going, Nate? Yeah, you're not.
I'm not talking to you now.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I just creep out the people in the store.
Yeah, I'm just creeping out these 2 other people.
Yeah, the second I was like, that wasn't good.
It's like as it's leaving your mouth, you're just like, oh no!
Mistakes were made.
I know.
Okay.
Hey, I have an extra mana crypt for trade.
Here are these guys over here just trading mana crypts,
It's
having
loyal, too.
extra mana crypts.
Okay, 2.
All right, I think I'm about done with that. And so once you're done with all the tedium of base coating, just kind of want to do one quick look over and kind of go back over those spots that maybe got the wrong color paint on them. Those spots that, yeah, pretty much just the splash over. And then that's going to get you ready to go on to the next step. I'm going to go in here and go back through all of my paints and say, oh, I forgot one thing. The little claws on his wings, those are going to be bone white as well.
Yeah,
See, I'm forgetting stuff already.
$1 short. Sure.
So yeah, you definitely want to paint his little wing talons bone white.
That high bid so far, that card's $450.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
What card?
Good for you.
That card I cracked out of flesh and blood.
6. Cool looking ball of big balls.
+2 base. Everybody draw a card.
So let's look over, do a nice little once over here, see what I've missed, see what I maybe.
Hell yeah,
Let's
man.
go back into our
What's the
heavy
only thing
ochre.
that's left of that deck, dude?
I'm going to cast Iroas, Karametric Reader. I go search for any forest or plains cards like that.
Not sure.
Just put a little bit of heavy ochre on there because we're being a little more
How you doing?
detail oriented here.
Did you draw your card for base?
Just go for these spots that we splashed over on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you blend 2 of your colors together?
Yes.
That's pretty big brain of you. That is actually a technique. What you want to do there, if you are blending 2 colors of paints together, you want to make sure those paints are super thin. And what you do is you basically set up,
For how much?
kind of set up your paint where you want to pick out the areas where
What was it?
where one color ends and the other color ends, and then you want to take them and you just want to slowly pull them towards each other, and that's how you're going to get a nice blend. That is a pretty advanced technique. It's not super easy to pull off, but if you can do it, all power to you.
Are you killing my wolf?
I'm killing the wolf and the 3/3.
Cool. With what?
Marion for the wolf, and then Revy's gonna eat the elk.
How big is the Revy?
7-7.
My water's all coming to the bathroom. Yeah, I know.
Fair on, bro.
But I need to clean it.
Totem armor.
Cool. I'm good. I'm good with
This heavy sienna.
I will then play. I'll make a wolf token. I will then play Thrun, the last troll, but he was not the last troll. There was another troll.
His name was Roy.
Yep. Go ahead. I am the last troll.
I am the last one.
You always play red. That's your mistake. That's your mistake. For the guy who's colorblind, he always plays red.
I'm glad that I have a disability that people think it's hilarious to make fun of. Me too.
How do you know you're actually playing red? You could be playing blue.
No, I can. The blue and the yellow are the ones I have a hard time telling apart, but they have a different symbol at the top.
That's why he hates blue, because he has trouble seeing it.
Oh no, I think he hates blue because he sees it all the time. Counterspell.
Control players are people who don't have control of their life, so they take it out on nerds and
Playing
games.
Uno.
Jack,
is
everyone
not
else.
fun.
Progenitus, I'm sorry.
Because you have to
Oh.
I'm attacking people because that's what this deck does.
Eventually they
Make a
beat
token.
us.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
That's funny.
Back in my team.
He's got your input for you.
Gotcha.
How much do I take? 3.
He didn't put the bonus for you?
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for being very active in the chat too. I'm sorry I've been kind of neglecting the chat a little bit.
Is he following along?
Oh yeah, he's cheering us on.
So 5.
Oh, really?
Pirates Crusade.
Little parts.
Now I'm getting a bird.
Nice. I was actually wanting to go up
Counters for
there.
everybody.
She got. I bought her shoes today because she's like, I don't get paid until next week. I'll get back. That's fine.
Already like that.
I mean, he did go knuckle.
It's already like that, Roy.
He's getting in some dangerous territory.
This is section. Scribe. I'm going to do the buyback. Go back, man.
We're over at
All right, I think
we're
we're pretty good. I'm not trying to. Oh gosh, I closed my paint pot there. I'm not trying to make a Picasso here, so. All right, so I'm gonna take a quick break while you guys keep on going before we go to this next step here, because I'm gonna get something.
He's just salty because I found it.
You should swing at me.
I mean, I was going to. You swung me twice already.
What? That's because.
Who's the biggest threat on the board?
8 flying.
Sure, dog.
It's also commander damage.
Sure, I'll take it.
All right.
Hey.
Baron Brush on top. I want to do this. But it would help. No, it would help.
Are you gonna wipe the board?
No.
Then don't do it.
Okay.
Hello there.
Also, what way would it help me?
It would stop them from attacking you.
Really?
What's up, man?
Pass.
Check it out. Check it out.
Pay 5 for doubling season?
Hey.
Pretty card.
No, this card.
Red.
Yeah. It's a good card.
I understand.
Nature's War.
I allow it.
Sharp myself another 2.
I dig it.
El blanco es bastante
Can't do
opaco,
dig it. I'm trading
so
just
si
in my
Name the movie.
blanco,
Name the movie.
you can actually just fix it.
Um,
No es tan translucent.
Oh man, Wayne's on to merciless victim.
Who did what?
No.
Lightning Greaves.
No. I
Minus 2 days. I don't know.
Alright,
What's the movie?
alright, this is
Warriors.
getting out of
Oh.
hand, boys. Warriors! So what does the ready do?
When it attacks, or not attacks,
Roy, you're welcome.
when it does combat damage, I can tap or untap target permanent.
What?
For showing you that movie.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna cast Shriek Maw and destroy him.
Okay.
Sure.
Brocos.
Because, bro, I ain't even cast this guy yet. And since-
yeah.
Since you wanted to attack me, I will pay 2 and equip my sword to my Elder Gurgle.
Has grease on it.
I'm just gonna move greaves on.
meant to tell you this thing.
I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna attack you for 8. Trample, pro blue, pro green. Trigger, make a 3/3 beast.
I listened to it. I find myself drawing a card.
Actually, I'm gonna draw a card because I already got 2. He's right. You draw.
Yes. Card draw is valuable
No, that's not what that's about.
And then Milton. And I
Might
make
be
2
because you
too.
hit me for infect and countered one of my spells.
Do you have anything cremita? Cremita.
You're so scared of the Progenitus, just save the counter spells for it.
Go!
Where he has protection from it.
No, he
Do you
doesn't.
understand? Protection? Protection on everything.
Not on the stack.
See? But yeah, so I got. Oh,
Yeah, it's not like he's a Oracle.
oh, that was my Jason.
Sí que se vea William.
Claro, sí se ve que.
It's a short.
¿Por qué?
Pinta la boca y ahora tienen staff.
Papa Trump. You know, Uncle Donald gave me some money, man. Paying child support.
So I draw a card, and then each turn discard a card.
Wait, did they do the?
Look at it.
Did they do that again? All right. How's it coming along, guys?
Going good. Coming, it's good.
All right. Keep on chugging. Like a train, not like a alcoholic.
I guess I just don't get to play this one.
You're playing right now. I'm literally looking at you.
Why haven't we rolled? We haven't even played Plane Chase.
I could proliferate.
Man, I
Correct,
should
which is why I'm saying I don't get to play the
Say that
game.
again?
Right, you could have attacked me.
Johnny?
Attack me.
That's right, 1% of the time.
You're finally learning.
Yeah.
He made that mistake earlier.
I did. I tried to spread it out, and I just
These,
proliferated. No big deal.
Oh,
It's
alright.
not worked that way.
That's not what you
These
target
Wizards
one person
models,
that has
uh,
one
Still in
person
service
to do it.
tomorrow.
The D&D models are kind of pliable too. So like this tail, if it's kind of butted up against the wing, you can just kind of
Okay.
lightly bend it out of the way.
I get a new bird.
I'm gonna brainstorm.
We gotta go somewhere cheap.
McDonald's.
Like Sonics. You remember Sonics?
Okay.
You wanna go to Sonics tomorrow?
I'm going to Jeff's.
Yeah,
Or
no, that's
we're
fine.
going to BD's.
Huh?
I'm going to Jeff's, and we're probably going to BD's.
I will see you later. Bye.
BD's working in the post-COVID world.
You gotta wear gloves to go
I haven't
through.
seen Jeff in years
He moved back down recently.
I drew. Wait, land.
I can cast it next turn. not going to. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, you should cast it and put the shit out of that dude.
Can't.
Language.
Protection.
Protect from everything, right?
Yep.
3. Scry 3.
That's a buyback card?
Yes.
That card's insane. How much is it to buy it back?
2.
That's insane.
It's 1 blue and then 2 of any color to buy back.
Medicine or sorcery?
It's a sorcerer.
Sorcery.
Or it would be broken.
Yeah.
It'd be like capsize.
It'd be
Well, capsize is so good.
It is.
be a way cheaper.
The,
in terms
the,
of like
the thing about capsize is that it's any permanent.
Make it to the moat. Creatures without flying can't attack.
Woo! We're in, boys.
Sure.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and move a little bit forward here. So the next step we're doing is we're using our sepia wash. And what we're going to do with this, first off, you're going to use quite a bit of this.
5, 6, 7, 8. 8 flying.
Pour it in there. You want to thin this down a little bit.
I know that.
So,
swing at him.
get some of
A
your
little
water
bit
from your
impact on
paint pot.
flying.
I haven't done anything yet. You can swing at me.
Just a little bit.
I don't want to.
I've attacked you. I don't want to. I've attacked you.
That's good.
You want to.
I swung at you and I'm swinging at
The,
him.
Vallejo
You might have the next
washes
turn, that's
are-
true. It's your turn.
They are a little thick for my liking. So,
Vivian.
good trick to
Sure, but
test the
welcome those.
test how thick or thin your paint is.
No, I'm gonna mine
Is
it
just
for
kind
him
of
for that.
drag, get some paint on your brush, and then you drag it across your thumbnail,
I'm gonna respond.
and that's kind of what you're looking for right there. Is for it to be quite opaque there, and that's the sepia wash that we're using.
Thank you. You're a gentleman in the
So after we thin that down a little bit,
Soul ring.
we're going to take this sepia wash and we are going to smother this mother with it. So I want you to take that sepia wash and just put it on everything. Don't get super crazy with it, but we're going to go over pretty much this whole model with sepia wash. And we want to make sure that this sepia wash goes down into all the little nooks and crannies that are on this model.
Maybe it doesn't sound so good.
And like I said earlier, this is what
a
a lot of seasoned painters call liquid talent. And you'll see why. It
Yeah, somewhere on that page there should be.
it moves this along so fast.
Dude, that's so busted.
I'm done, because I can't attack.
And
Why?
certain parts where like two different paints meet, you can go a little thick on it actually.
Right.
Just so it kind of sinks into that crack, and it's gonna make the transition look better. And we're going over his fur, over the wings, the tail, everything.
You're dying to the mana crit, dude.
Yeah, man. Let's get some first.
Probably over the lighter stuff, you want to go a little thinner. So like over the main body, just a little bit thinner, but not too much. You really just want to soak this guy in it. I mean, I've heard people, they'll take models and just literally dunk them in a pot of wash, and
I was gonna ask you.
they still come out looking real good. So Nate, I heard you pulled a very expensive card recently.
I pulled a card that currently the high bid is $450 on it.
That is crazy.
So where do you live?
Yeah. Yeah. What time are you leaving? Where's your car parked? You got any loved ones?
I have a very beautiful daughter.
Oh yeah, where'd she go to school at?
According to his Facebook.
Thomas, I literally know where you live.
Yeah, I know.
Did you think about that when you started threatening me?
I was threatening you as a joke, Nate.
How come you're using air quotes when you say joke?
I'm not using air quotes. The stream can verify that. My hands are full.
It also just proliferates.
Check it out.
This girl said 3 days into school.
Yeah.
Looking good.
Positive already. She's like, man, my turn.
Yeah, Summerlin, where my niece goes, had 4 kids.
Hell yeah. I would love it.
It's a weird thing to love, Roy.
Huh?
My turn. You bird.
Yeah, I totally forgot half of the tail. Can we revisit that?
It just shows that we weren't ready to reopen.
Yeah, let me go clean the water.
Kindergartners.
I will
And put sneeze guards in between the desks. Like, that's
Hey teacher, watch this.
yeah, licks.
Yeah, little kids are dirty. I don't trust them to be hygienic.
Turned around and sneezed on my teacher.
I remember when I was in
Celia,
kindergarten,
but
I
they're
took
they're
naps.
terriers.
Lots of
At
naps.
the end of the day.
Explains a lot, Roy. That explains a lot.
I remember all
Her
of
name was Miss Wright. She was like the nicest lady I ever met.
Why don't you marry her?
Cause she was like 80.
Maybe I will. From cradle to grave.
I'm pretty sure Miss
Literally.
Wright is no longer alive.
You do anything else?
Yes.
Hey, it's Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
What do you have on your
You're still
shelf?
neglecting the chat.
Not you.
I'm very bad at multitasking. This is kind of a new thing for me. This is the first time I've ever like streamed a painting class, so.
That's pretty cool.
Where's your 8/8? 8/8 is the thing that has transfers.
But it is
It
really
is in
cool.
there.
I like it
It's
a lot.
just. Oh wait, no.
Can I build your
it's 'cause
artifact?
I need my.
On your 8/8?
I feel like I'm talking to more people than I usually am, or than I actually am, maybe. I'm just imagining every single person on the internet is watching me right now.
Like that Phyrexian Hydra? I don't have that. Thought I did.
I think you did. You sold it.
You think you have it, and you're like, I know I have this.
Filter through cards. Yeah.
It's been gone for months.
What's that do? Sorry.
When he's destroyed, I draw a card. This
That's it?
proliferates. Yep.
Okay.
Nice.
The UTVs, I search for a land.
I'm gonna O-ring.
Sword?
No, not the sword. Sword I'm kind of fine with for right now. The
You
creature.
can't target it because that's lightning breeze.
Oh, shroud.
What about the main bone?
All my creatures have experts except for these guys.
Alright, so let's O-ring lightning breeze
What'd you
then.
do?
Sure.
I painted the top of
Oh,
Interesting choice.
it.
Um,
It seems that it dried.
Let's roll.
Yeah, I know.
that's the first thing he told me.
Alright.
I know.
It's okay.
Disappointing.
We all make mistakes. It's good. It's good.
There are no, what is it?
Give me
There's
that,
no
give me that.
mistakes, just what is it?
No, no,
There's-
there's no trying.
There's no failure, only happy mistakes.
These just came out.
Something like that. I don't know. Jeff, do you know that quote?
Jeff is watching?
Yeah, he is. And
El Jefe?
El Jefe. He is in the stream. He's probably gonna leave now that you noticed him. He's like a deer.
18.
Give me a soda.
18
Stop attacking me.
What kind of soda?
plus 10 is 28. 28 plus 5 is what? 30.
33.
33? 33 flying.
I will block your commander.
He flies?
He has reach.
Okay.
And I'll take the rest. Draw.
Suspicious.
So how much was the rest?
And when you start doing
33
this
minus 10.
wash bit,
So, take 23.
you can be as messy as you want. Get all of that frustration of being accurate
devil
out
out
in
of
your
it.
4 things hit.
in your wa- yeah. Beat the devil out of it. That's a good thing.
Getting your Bob Ross on over there.
Somehow you made that sound sexy, Tommy.
Oh yeah, I try and make everything I say sound sexy. It just doesn't work very often. So yeah, if I can accomplish that every now and again, Nate, please let me know. And
Remember, I know where you live, big boy.
oh, don't tempt me with a good time, Nate.
All 35 seconds.
All 35 seconds.
I forgot this is a live stream.
This is a live stream, yeah, but we're being vague, so it's cool. I'm being vague. I don't know. I'm just saying I didn't initiate that, so.
You didn't say no either.
I'm not hearing a no.
It's creepy when you say it like that.
That's the Zoidberg impression. Yeah. What about Zoidberg?
I hear it now. Yeah.
White, red.
The president is choking on my gas bladder. What an honor.
Progenitors. Casper, Alright. All my gods are creatures.
I'm gonna proliferate.
Well, all my creatures are gods.
All my gods are creatures.
I'm going to play Arcane
Joining the
Adaptation
base
Not yet.
and make all my creatures gods.
If you make everyone draw a card.
Okay, are you not going to proliferate my poison?
I did.
You
I
are
will.
not?
100%. Yes.
Okay.
Anyway,
Still.
let's see. That's about as...
Bro.
I know that.
It's hard to get like the focus on there, and I'm not super good at working with the technologies here.
We can
But,
summon Ryan.
We could summon Ryan,
I'm at 23 life.
and it's still a little wet from that wash, so.
Oh, man.
I mean, you're not anything, but you don't know.
Got a -2 to the Jace.
We're all drawing a card.
Or, yeah, sorry.
You know, I'm not going for perfect here, so I'm just kind of.
Oh, yeah.
So Progenitus is a 10-10?
I'm just kind of going for a solid-looking model because I don't want to be here all night.
The top 4.
Perfect is an all-night kind of thing.
I brought Xenagor.
Cool.
We already
Done?
determined you have plans later.
What's that?
So we already determined you have plans later.
Did you? Do I have plans later? Wait.
Attack me!
I'm swing 7 at you.
No!
Kazmask.
Oh.
Me!
Take it. Got 4 of my plans in turn. That's a good choice.
Maybe it'd be
Sure.
My goal is to one day make someone
Hey,
laugh their
turn.
mask off.
I'm gonna pay 4 to search for 2 basics. This guy does.
That is true, Steve. Every time you paint, you get better. That is
I got something for you boys.
that is a fundamental truth. You're gonna learn something new every time you paint. At least that's the case.
Attack. Cut brackets line?
I try my best to try new
Usually how
things
not to
too.
do it.
Yeah, usually it's how not to do something. That is actually really true.
Like, oh, no, that's...
Is how not to do something, and that's actually very valuable information.
That's pretty good.
Jeff, are you messaging me? No, you're not.
No, Jeff is
No
I'm
longer
gonna
in the
pay...
chat.
no, he's still in the chat, I think. I don't really know how to tell that much, but whatever.
playing-
So
You hitting?
after applying that wash, you really want to give it some time to dry off, because it's gonna. The thing about washes is they are a lot parts water, so it's gonna take a little longer to dry than regular paint. But you can see kind of like, let's go like kind of like his armpit area maybe. Yeah, I'm not getting a whole lot of. But you can see like that detail starts popping out more when you apply a wash to a Manticore. Like maybe his face right there.
And these two stop being creatures.
Rawr. Look at him. But yeah, like so now, like if you guys want to see, that's kind of what I'm talking about with this wash.
Yeah.
Is it changes the
What
tone,
happens with
Nice.
and it seeps down into all those little cracks, and it makes it look a little
when
more
it goes back to
detailed.
non-creature folder.
It gives it life.
It's alive.
It's the Manticore. That's exactly what I want.
I'm the creepy one.
Hey, being good at voices doesn't make one creepy. Being creepy makes one creepy.
You need to do the rest of your instructions of Sam Elliott.
So, the next part of this is afterwards we're going to get into what I call and what everybody calls dry brushing.
15, my
But we really want to let this dry off completely before we go to the next step. It is super important because if you dry brush when your paint's wet, it's gonna ruin a lot of stuff. So we want to be very careful here to make sure that all of our wash is dry. That's the worst part. That is the worst part about a wash. Is it's probably the longest. It takes the longest to dry. Because you really just soak it in there.
The most expensive one is still $30 though. The counter spell.
The eyes, we're probably gonna make the eyes. I don't know. I'll probably go with like that pale yellow and just make it like a yellow glow kind of eye. But you can try painting like if you want to try being super accurate, you can try painting a little iris in there. I just put a little dot of the bone white in the eye, but just you want to make sure that you have a very fine tip on your brush and just poke it right in the eye. Just the tip. And you'll see it's not as easy said than done.
World shaper?
Yeah, because he destroys all lands. So
when that dies, he brings all lands back to the graveyard.
Staple, man, I'm telling you. So go black, and I'll quote the colorless.
Now this is about where I got to in the video, so I'm going to go with how I would paint this with this color palette. You'll notice that like the Manticore's color palette is a lot of just browns and beiges and a little bit of reds, a little bit of yellows. But depending on what you're painting, you can have a very vibrant color palette. I had a painting of a GW model called the Changeling. That was a lot of blues. He had certain parts of his staff that kind of went from one color to another and kind of this rainbow thing. So, and I think I used in total probably like 35 different shades of paint in that one model. So you can really go all out if you want, or I mean, you could use half this amount and still get a good model. A really good thing to learn too is like if you want to be more of an eyeballer, I would say learn how to like just change the tone of one color of paint with other paints. So certain paints, when you mix in whites or blacks or
that's one of the main ones.
or other colors, that's going to just kind of lighten or darken the tone of it. So for like reds, if you want to brighten a red, you actually don't want to add white to it because that's going to make it pink. So what you want to do is you want to add orange to it. When you add orange to a red, it just brightens it up a little bit. So you can actually, with certain paints, you can use one color. So you can just have this heavy ochre, and then just add a little bit of bone white or off-white to it to brighten it up, and you can add a little bit of heavy sienna to it to darken it. So you could probably paint this entire model with these three paints. I mean, Steve over here in the chat says he used 11 colors on Necrons, and Necrons are very notorious for being easy to paint. They're really like they're like Terminator skeletons, so they're pretty much all silver. So you can go all out on the simplest looking things too. It's up to you and whatever you envision your models to be. I'm actually I have a Tau army that I need to get working on again, and I'm doing it like Borderlands themed. So everything, so everything is like the color of a claptrap, and then I instead of highlighting with whites and stuff I'm highlighting with black. So everything looks like it has like those cartoony cell shaded lines on them. And I really like how they look. But yeah, I mean, if you can think it, you can paint it. So
Yeah, I just gotta figure out what I can
Bone
do.
white thing.
I can.
I'm gonna do the wash.
Steve, have you painted any of the new Necrons?
From his next turn.
I don't know how long the delay on this is either.
Going towards.
That's true.
Look directly at me, man. I mean,
Three. I'm gonna scry 3.
So what are we going into now? We're going into bone white?
Yep.
Awesome. So that one, again, you just want to be a little more accurate with it. And just be careful with it. And if you want, you can thin it down a little bit more to help with your accuracy. Whenever paint is thick, it tends to get places that you don't want it to.
And 1v1, you just pull
From the command box. Okay, so have you used the, what's that new color? The Tesseract Glow? I was really interested by that paint.
This is the thing happened to me.
And I don't know exactly how it works, but I'm very interested in it.
Cool.
It looks like
I'm all about it, dude.
what is it? It looks like one of the the new paints that they came out with. The ones where it's just like you put it on one time and you're done. Yeah, so from now on, this is going to be me figuring out how to paint the rest of this model, so bear with me. I didn't watch the whole video because I kind of got the gist of it. So after our wash dries, which I'm close but not quite there, what we're going to do is we're going to take Filthy Brown. That's the name of the color. I didn't make that up. We're going to take Filthy Brown, and we're going to start dry brushing. So a dry brush I can actually kind of show you right now. So with dry brush, you want your paint thick. So this is kind of the one time where you want your paint to be thick. And I actually think we need some paper towels for this, so I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, we just asked Ryan for more paper. This is the last one.
Oh, that was the last one. Hey Ryan, do you have more paper towels?
No, he
Whoever
doesn't.
pretty
Like
it's the
this.
comment, not the person.
Oh, that's sad.
I think so.
Now, let's do the nails.
So I got us some rolls of paper towels.
Less than
So-
paperless.
Yeah, the contrast, that's what I'm thinking of, the name of those new paints. Is it like one of those contrast paints, Steve?
Oh yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
Yeah, so the main appeal of those contrast paints is that you put on one thick coat, and it kind of does the job of a wash and a base coat in one. But I've seen people use those paints to like paint like the most beautiful models I've ever seen, being just more accurate with them. And I really want to try that out.
And I will give it,
We're almost there. I'm just waiting on this wash to dry. So yeah, we're gonna dry brush with Filthy Brown. So I'm going to kind of show you guys how to do this. It's very easy. It's probably one of the easiest ways to do like kind of a pseudo highlight. So what you want to do is usually you want to use a brush that you don't really care about with this, and kind of the thicker the brush, the better. So you can use a pretty large brush for this. So what you want to do is you want to put your paint on it, and then you want to get all the paint off of it without getting it wet. So basically you're just going to wipe it on this paper towel, and what I do is I kind of like pass it across my hand a little bit to see if it leaves any kind of residue. And what the goal of this is that we're taking dry pigment and we're putting it on the model. So when that happens, we get this kind of highlight, and kind of this little, it's like a dusty kind of highlight. And yeah, you just want to make sure, because there are times when you're dry brushing where it's not going to be doing anything because you're out of
Oh, what's
pigment.
lives at, dude? What's lives at?
23.
21.
So we just take this filthy brown. And these brushes are not good for dry brushing. Weirdly enough, they're actually like too good to be dry brushes. So what I'm gonna do, which is like really bad, and I probably shouldn't do this. I'm gonna take this fine detail brush because I don't really like it that much, and I'm going to destroy it. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Pretty much. I'm gonna try to not destroy it as much as I can, but I mean, you really want to load it up with paint, and then basically you're just doing this. And so with the effect that you want when you're dry brushing, so you see the white part of that paint, it's gonna do that. So it's gonna have this like dusty kind of effect on it.
Bust them up, man. Do what you gotta do.
Alright. I guess I gotta do it then.
Yeah, I was thinking how it would,
Mutate?
Steve, I was thinking how that, how it would work as a glaze.
So he gets 2 counters.
Because it seems like the color transition is so
What you like that?
is so extreme with that Tesseract glow. So I'm very interested in it. I might grab one off the shelf.
Mutate?
Ask Ryan about his automatopoeia deck.
This filthy brown, it's just like one shade up from this heavy ochre, so you're not gonna see like a really immediate kind of. What was that? Yeah, so it's going to be the sepia wash, and what you want to do is you want to thin that down, because if you see it right now, it's a little thick there. So I'd put some like drop some in there, and then mix some water in there, and pass it across your thumb until it's about 50-50 opaque, I would say, which is that's not super explanatory, but I think you'll know when you see it. It's hard to explain. Definitely mixing paint is a hard thing to do. That's the one thing about Vallejo paints I don't like, is that their washes are crazy thick.
No, save that for me.
What?
Yeah, so with this little
Brett's gonna kill himself. So
with this little fine detail brush, it's gonna really destroy this brush, because the thing about it is you really have to like scrape it in there, so it's gonna get up in the ferrule and ruin it. But that's why you use brushes that you don't really care about for dry brushing.
Impersonator.
Targeting or choosing?
Copying.
Copying.
Xenagos.
And you might not think it's making that huge of a difference, but the more you go over it, the more you're going to find
It's red green.
that it's a little bit lighter on the areas that you're dry brushing.
You can choose on those.
Get that Jace.
We just want to go on like the areas that
Whoa,
are
Jay.
facing a light source.
Whoa.
So you can even tell just under the fluorescent lights where light is going to hit on this model. So we're not going to do the dry brush on the belly, but maybe we'll do it like right on his side there. Maybe on his arms and stuff like that.
All right, here we go.
George Bastion.
I was gonna say, do the man and you can kill him yourself.
He's out of mana.
I'm gonna copy Oblivion. Target lightning greaves. I forgot that was in play. And now it's not. Kill you!
Oh my goodness.
I was just waiting for it. It's like I got nothing.
And we're just going to pass this over those raised areas of the Manticore's main
that was in
body.
play,
So our filthy brown is going all over this Manticore's body. And that sounds so bad.
You can attack me now, bro.
But yeah. We're going to use this poopy poop color.
Duty color.
Yeah, it's straight dookie.
Subtracts 11 life from me, so everything gets -11, -11.
And I'm actually going to go a little farther with this and maybe get a little wet paint on there.
It's not. Yeah, it's just minus. They don't get
And just
minus
do
on
like a
counters.
very, very light highlight.
Oh yeah. So one.
Just because this shade is so close to that ochre that I'm not seeing a huge difference here. It is making a difference. It's just hard to notice, I would say. Especially since we put that ochre over that white base tone, so it lightened it up quite a bit.
Why would you have attacked me?
But yeah, I think that's looking decent.
But it doesn't matter though.
And
You know what I'm saying?
you'll see the effects more if you dry brush it over that little hairy part in like the armpit area of his wing.
There we go.
This is gone.
So like that's the effect that a dry brush does. So you see that just the raised parts have it on there. So we'll show that to the stream if it can see it.
Beast within the screens equipped.
It's not quite in focus, but yeah, basically what a dry brush does is that pigment catches on the raised areas, and that's what's going to make it. That's what's going to make those little details pop. And at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want our details to pop out because that's going to make our model look more real, more alive, and stuff like that. We want our Manticore to look like it's pouncing at us, that it's ready to kill our level 3 party.
Pocket handy.
You gotta run that one exile if you have your commander.
It's already killed this fine detail brush.
Bog thing.
RIP fine detail brush.
Don't you close at 9 then?
Yeah, so we got about 30 more minutes in this tutorial. So we might not get all the way through this tonight, but I'm definitely going to tell you guys how to finish this model if we don't get to it, all right? So after we do that filthy brown, we're going to wash off our dry brush. And the way I buy dry brushes is I'll go to like the Walmart craft section and I'll just find a nice kind of thickish brush. So you want one that's a little wider. If it's too long, take some scissors and snip the bristles off and just ruin it. Just ruin that brush. Put some Tesseract glow in the Manticore's eyes. That would be a pretty cool idea. I don't have any right now. I don't think I can afford any right now. But that is a pretty cool idea. But with a Manticore, I don't know with this kind of color palette that I would want green eyes. I think I would want want yellow eyes. Some kind of color that contrasts with the rest of the face, but is still kind of complementary. So maybe like a bright orange or a yellow.
The dragon ore necklace.
Yes.
Yeah.
The guy that you were using as your
What was that?
dragon ore.
Yeah, those spikes are they're kind of a pain in the butt. But once they're done, you can move on to the next step.
Prove it, he said.
I read the story for all of Turk here.
You know, I like Pop Tarts too.
It's true.
All right.
And 50 cents.
Oakley dokley.
Look it up. Look at Dragon Lord Salumgar. I gotta see this. I gotta see this.
Alright, I love it.
I saw
Oh,
a
yeah, right here.
Have you taken
lame
my
meme actually. That it said, how do you,
There he
or
is.
when have you seen a
Here's the
concert
little
that's
necklace
only
for that
45
dragon.
cents?
That's tough.
And then it showed, well, 50 cents plus Nickelback.
I've heard that joke
It's
before.
lame.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that so much.
It's so lame.
It is the lamest thing. So, after we do our filthy brown dry brush, let's see what's next. Next, I think we want to go over the tan. So,
It's not how Selangor rolls, you know. Like,
Let's see, what should we go over this tan with? I think we're gonna go over the tan with
That's what
dwarf
Tasker's
skin.
trying to do. Like, all right,
So
now
we
I'm gonna
take this
double
dwarf
cross you.
skin.
There, now, what do you?
We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna dry brush over it.
Whose birthday is it? Oh god.
Yeah, and that looks like it's gonna. That's gonna be a nice dry brush for those. And again, we just want to go over kind of the raised areas.
Hey, Mom, just,
Oh, and
invite
it looks
to tell you,
super good over that.
Time is
Oh,
less
man.
value to me.
That's
than it is
sorry. I just
anything
kind of
else.
nerded out a little bit. I get excited when something works out better than I thought it would, especially with painting. But
Wait, my dude.
You guys have a good night.
have a good one, guys.
You too.
Night.
Yeah, so we're reaching the 30-minute mark on our models. So
I feel like I'm one of those shows. You know, the cooking.
you have
shows
30
like,
minutes
30
left,
minutes to
chefs.
go.
no, I don't have enough hands. Sorry.
Yeah, that looks fun. Sorry, I almost cursed there. That looks fudging amazing. Yeah, so we're definitely gonna take this dwarf skin and we're gonna go over the names there. That's another thing. Like, don't be afraid to experiment with your painting. You might be surprised, like, with this weird thought that you have is like, what if I dry brush this contrasting color over this? How is it gonna look? It might come out looking super good. Who knows? Or it might end up looking like crap, in which case you can paint over it, or you can strip it off, whatever you want.
You did the same thing when I said primal vigor.
Oh yeah, dude, he's right there. Did you see?
I got my man.
I'm actually going to go over this whole wing, so I'm going to go on the inside parts of this wing too, because this just looks so good. I think it deserves it. So yeah, after we do that filthy brown dry brush, we're gonna go over our wings and our tail and all of our colors that we did, all our body parts that we painted in tan, and we're going to dry brush on our dwarf skin, which is it's weird. This dwarf skin, I was kind of iffy about it because it looks very orange in the pot, but it actually is way more of a skin tone now that I see it put in practice. Yeah, I mean, some paints can be really deceiving how they look in the pot. They definitely dry different colors.
Finally finished the damn spikes.
Yeah, those little details, especially if there's a whole lot of them, like those spikes, that's it gets kind of tedious, but it's okay. How's that wash looking?
Looking good.
Yeah, see it.
Oh no, I need the head spikes too.
I know. No, why? The same thing happened to me. I'm like,
So
okay,
many
I'm
spikes.
done. I'm not done. I'm missing the heads.
I'm so not finishing today.
And it's okay. Sometimes I mean, I've put 40 hours into a model before.
Just do the most that you can.
Yeah, it just depends on how much detail you want to go into, and it definitely takes some. It takes some. I don't know, some panache. I'm trying to think of a good word for it. It gets tedious, and that's why I always recommend, like, take breaks in between. We couldn't really afford to do that this time around just because we're kind of on a time crunch. But yeah, take breaks. You know, have fun with it. If maybe like a little bit through painting, like a couple hours into painting, you're saying, you know what, I think I'm losing my painting bug for today, set it down, pick it up the next day. That was Roy, the guy who's been making noise this whole time.
Our sound effects guy.
Our sound effects guy. Yeah.
To get a free one, that's pretty good, man. It usually costs money.
I like that.
Have a good night, guys.
Night.
Night.
Where's that?
So we're just gonna go back over this part. And I'm getting a little sloppy here, but that's fine. Whatever. You know, sometimes you make little happy trees, and it'll be fine. Paint little happy trees into that Manticore. Maybe you want to put a little poison dripping from the barbs of that Manticore, you know? You don't know what he's been through. Yeah, Steve, you're right. It's all about patience. And definitely, once you get to that end result, it's all worth it. And you get to look at your model and its completion and say,
Oh, spikes.
oh my goodness, I made that. Just going over these raised parts. All right. So we're about done with that dry brush. Now I think I'm gonna go back to that main body skin. So our last thing we're gonna do with the main body is we're gonna dry brush on pale yellow. So we want to be pretty conservative with this dry brush. So we just want to do it on the parts that are very exposed to light. So maybe on like the parts that are the knuckles, maybe like on the arch of his back, stuff like that. We definitely don't want to put it on any underside. So just pick out a few parts, dry brush that pale yellow on. And ooh, I got quite a bit of pale yellow on my thumb there. Yeah, always be careful to see if you got stray paint on your fingers, because if you touch your model in the wrong spot, it's going right on it. All right, do that there. Maybe on his knuckles, his Captain Knuckles. Do that on that arm that's so prominent in this model. All right, that seems good enough. So yeah, that gives us some variance in the shades that are going through this model. And I spot a little part where I missed some stuff, so I'm going to go back over there. Where heavy sienna right into his little mane. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so let's see what we haven't used yet and see how we can use it. So, we've used dwarf skin, we've used filthy brown, heavy sienna, tan, heavy skin tone, heavy ochre. We've used our bone white. So we've used our sepia wash. So that's leaving our cadmium skin and our flesh wash and off-white. So let's see here. I'm actually going to take some of that pale yellow. I'm going to put it on my regular boy brush. And I'm getting it just on the tip there. I'm going to take off any excess.
Oh, nice.
And
nice,
we want to be very careful in this step because I'm going to try and paint these eyes in. So, right there. And we want to make sure, yeah, see, I went a little overboard there. But that's okay. It's okay. Because, oh goodness. You can go over wet paint with water. Try and clean that up a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be good. Something can play out the regular meeting.
And go back over that with our skin tone a little bit.
Nails are done now. I need to tan those mouths because I forgot the mouth.
Yeah, that works out. Okay. So, let's figure out where we're going to put the rest of these. So, our cadmium skin. this is what we're going to use as an edge highlight. So an edge highlight, unlike a dry brush, is you're using wet paint. And you're going to be very, very careful with it because you're just trying to get on some pretty high raised edges. And this is super, super thick paint, which I am definitely going to thin down. You know your paint's thick when you can scoop it out of the pot there. There we go. That's fine. Alright, so I'm taking this cadmium skin, making sure I don't have too much excess on there, and I'm going over just the raised parts of his face. So we're going to go on like the bridge of his nose. We're going to go up on top of his head, trying to avoid those little crevices that we got our wash in. We're going to go up on his cheekbones. A little bit on his chin there. Go across the tops of his lips. His upper lip. Back over the cheekbones.
What's the slightly different? 2 of us play that, 3 of? Exactly 40 first on that.
No, not my clothes.
That's another thing.
It's safe. It's safe.
Definitely wear clothes that you don't care about when you paint, because I guess, at least with me, I am a very messy painter, so I like to get paint all over myself. All over myself.
All over myself.
All over myself.
Oh, no.
Arr, matey. Sponge boy, me Bob. SpongeBob SquarePants. Porous.
Porous is he?
Porous.
I knew that.
Yes, he
What
is
did you
porous.
say, chorus?
No.
He said foreign. Pretty sure.
Oh, I mean.
Come on, look good. That's all I need you to do.
So when we go back over the face, it's that edge highlight. Makes it look. It makes him look a little lighter skin tone in the face. Which you can be a little more conservative with that than I was, but I don't think it looks bad. Yeah, whatever. The off-white we're going to use on all the spikes. So that's what we're going to edge highlight our spikes with. So we're going to go to the very tips of our spikes with this off-white. Same thing with our claws. We just want the tips of our claws. Stuff that's exposed to light, of course. If you're having trouble figuring out where to put your highlights at, grab a flashlight and put it right above your model. Anything that light touches belongs to us, Simba. So that's where we're going to highlight. So we're just going to go across each of those spikes just a tiny bit. How's it looking, guys?
It's looking. Now I gotta wait for it to dry.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is waiting, especially with washes, especially when the one like we did where we kind of went over everything. It kind of doesn't give you another step to go to. You have to wait, and that can be kind of frustrating. It can kind of kill your.
You is ugly. That wash is really ugly.
It looks,
Yeah, it looks nasty actually.
Is it mixed?
Yeah, I mixed everything.
So you want to make sure, and it's hard to get that wash down to the
Should I
perfect
mix it
consistency
again?
there.
Do you think it needs?
Let's see it. What's your
Well, let
wash?
me mix it just in case.
Oh yeah, definitely right out the pot. That wash looks pretty gross, but it's a sepia, so it has a lot of yellow tones in it, and that's what's giving it that kind of gross look. And you can actually see it separate when it's thin there.
Stickiness. Alright, there we go. So this goes on top of everything to wash?
Pretty much everything, yeah. Just go wild with it. And did you mix it with water first?
No.
Okay, so what I do is pick one of these little divots and pour a little bit of that sepia wash in there, and put a few drops of water in it because we want to thin that down, because coming straight out of the pot like that sepia wash is a little thick, so thick with 2 C's, and so if we do it right out of the pot, our wash is it's not that bad out of the pot actually, but we do want to thin it down just a tad. And it can be a very fun part of the process too, washing, because you don't have to pay attention really. You just go. I'm going on the very tips of these spikes here. This off-white. Just where the light touches, and it's gonna give us a nice little highlight.
Hey, if you don't want to pay for Mulan, it's gonna be free in December.
Yeah, I'm not gonna wait till December to watch Mulan. I'm sorry. Sons of bitches.
I'm excited.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
I'm excited for
Sons
that.
of Bread Bridges.
Sons of bread. Those bread men.
Sons of the Bridges.
Sons of Jeff Bridges. You can see where that orange or that yellow got a little bit out of hand with me.
The only other one that I have that like gives your weapon go against plus 2. Without playing.
Wish I had a fat brush.
I wish I was a fish.
Because this brush sort of is gonna take forever for me to do this stupid one.
The next weapon attack.
Yeah, you definitely, with washes, you want a thicker brush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see, what next? What do we have that we haven't used this flesh wash? I kind of want to see what this does and where this applies. So let's see. That's just a little reddish wash. I think that this flesh wash, we can. Let's see if we apply it to the face, what happens.
Did a good job. You tooting around one.
Oh, get it, girl. You toot that horn. Yeah, so we're gonna go in there.
Too soon. No.
And put a bunch of this flesh wash in the mouth there.
Alright, there we go.
Let's see what that does on the wings.
Just rares.
I'm not quite sure why they gave us this flesh wash.
Just 40 rares. Play merchant and all generic rares.
I guess we could put the flesh wash on the spikes a little bit, make it look kind of bloody.
Could play shapeshifter. Yeah, you should. Or you sell.
Yeah. Okay. So our flesh wash, not super important. Let's see what else.
I like my ones a lot. These are pretty awesome.
So I'm gonna go back over with this dwarf skin. I'm gonna do a couple little highlights here, and I'm doing some edge highlights with this dwarf skin now. So I'm gonna take some of my pot water, thin this down quite a bit. With edge highlights, you definitely want your paint super thin, because that's gonna basically make it into a glaze, and it's gonna help it sort of blend in. So we're just gonna pick out these little spots that pop out. Just like that. Same. And just use the edge of your brush there. I'm going over kind of these like fingery appendages that are going through the wings here. I'm just doing a little edge highlight.
Before starting to list the manual ring on
Cool.
we got $60. The false one.
Oh, look, they have a
Cthulhu?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. I believe in D&D, those like Cthulhuoid kind of creatures are mind flayers. And they're very scary. You never want to run into a mind flayer. I would say mind flayers make Manticores look like nothing.
What would you like to trade?
I've already traded for like $100 worth of stuff.
I'm going to go back over these smaller spines.
And you want to do your wallet too.
You what?
Not too much longer. Maybe put something in there.
Yeah, that's looking good. That's looking a lot good. Oh, those warlock tiles, those things are so sick. I love them. I want them very badly, actually. I got so much yellow on my.
Play a lot of D&D?
Not a lot recently, just because of, we've been in a pandemic. But I was DMing up here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Steve, like doing the wing membranes with the flesh wash, but I'm not sure. It doesn't seem to do a whole lot. It just gives it more of a red tone. Let's try it actually, Steve. Let's see what we accomplish with it.
Or close the house. That's like use that little bit of time to change on the down payment. That's gonna hurt. Like it
Yeah.
won't wipe me out, but I will be unhappy. Like it's been nice seeing what they've put out the last basically year saving for this, and it's gonna be fucking gone. That's all it was in my car. Like I rode a bike forever, like 10 grand, saved for the car.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad on the flesh membranes, but it doesn't really add a whole lot. I mean, I didn't get to the part of the video where they use the flesh wash, so honestly, the sepia wash seems to do everything I want it to. And then, let's see, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back with this heavy skin tone. And I'm going to actually dry brush heavy skin tone onto the mane. And that's going to give our fur some highlights. And I think after that, I should be pretty much done with this, save for the base, which I'm not going to really deal with the base right now. So just dry brush a little bit of that on there. Oh yeah, that's looking real good. It's like smooth milk chocolate. I'm not gonna lie, this Manticore has very luxurious hair. Maybe it's Maybelline, I would think. Or maybe it's Manticore, maybe it's Maybelline. Let's just go over that just a little bit. Oh yeah, and that's gonna make that mane look really nice. It's gonna make it pop out a little bit. And honestly, I think that's a pretty good looking Manticore. We got some nice variance in tones there. With the wash, it kind of makes it blend just a little bit. We got some nice edge highlights going. Got some nice dry brushing going. And you'll notice like even the parts that are kind of sloppy, like those little skewers on the tail, if you don't think about it too much and you just kind of paint around it.
Don't use your eyes.
But seriously, if you no, not even that. If you do it just the right way, it kind of makes it look like it's kind of piercing. They're piercing through the Manticore's kind of tail flesh thing, I guess, kind of like Wolverine claws or something like that, or like maybe they're bloody. You know, I wouldn't think that a manticore is a very clean animal. So, well, even if it can be considered one, I don't think a manticore is very clean at all. So, you know, we wanna make sure that all those talons and spikes and skewers are kind of dirty looking. And I think we did a pretty good job on it. Just gonna go over a couple more fine detail things here. There's a couple of spikes that escaped my sight here. So. Scroll back over that just a little bit. Not too worried about them. Just like some brown coming through that I don't want. So I'm just gonna do like another coat over that. And I think that's pretty good looking. I'm gonna call that a done manticore.
So you took 408 the whole way?
I mean, other than that little rock that he's sitting on. Honestly, I could probably do that too. Let's see, what would be a good color for that rock? We might actually be able to just go straight sepia tone over white, and this we want it really thick. So let's see how that looks. That's not bad looking. I think I'm just gonna try that out. I'm gonna go straight sepia wash over this stone that he's sitting on. Why not? Straight over that sepia.
I have one that is like
And we want to go pretty heavy
this one. I'm trying to paint like
because we want it to actually stain that white.
I did all the stuff, and I'm missing the highlight.
Give us a nice little kind of rock. They didn't really give us a paint to paint the base with. I would do it. Maybe they did. I don't know. I would do it with a more muted brown. Something.
It's kind of random except my kids stuff. So
Something a little close to the heavy skin tone, but a little different. I wouldn't do the heavy skin tone.
Yeah, it really depends if I have my kid or not, and
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. And we got a nice little rock that he's sitting on. Bam. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
bye.
And a lot of painters they stop at the wash stage because the wash will give you enough kind of variance and detail that's going to it's going to give you enough highlights without having to really go into it. This is I would say our finished product here. So you got like nice little highlights on there, and yeah.
Was this dry brush and lining, or?
So I did dry brush. I did dry brush, and then I did an edge highlight over just these really raised up areas. You want to be really picky with edge highlights because they are going to stand out. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. I like it. How do you think we did, Steve? We did good? Steve says nice. So I'm glad about that. Look at that. The video doesn't do it a whole lot of justice there. You can't pick out a lot of the fine detail. But
It's super bright.
yeah, I like it a lot. It's definitely something terrifying that is ready to eat a group of adventurers. Or maybe like tell it a riddle. That's a sphinx. No, sphinxes tell riddles.
You look so cool.
Oh, no problem, Steve. Thank you for watching, man. Yeah, I hope you can make it to the next one.
If not, we can paint them, remotely.
Yeah, if not, you can. I mean, I'm pretty sure Ryan still has these Manticore kits. If you're interested in painting one, it was pretty fun to paint, honestly. And it comes with a bunch of little Vallejo paints that are. I mean, that's nothing to bat your eyes at. Because Vallejo paints are. I mean, they're just as expensive as GW paints, I would say. So yeah, keep these, treasure them, use them.
Definitely.
Yeah, and make sure when you use them, thin them down a little bit. Especially like the closer to white you get, it's gonna come out really chalky. So this off-white is like semi-solid. So you really want to thin it down a lot. But yeah, I think that's it for our stream, and I'm really glad that everybody tuned in. Thank you guys for showing up.
Of course.
The next step would of course be to super glue it onto the base, or you don't even have to do that if you want. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. We're gonna go ahead and close this stream off, and yeah, thank you.